My name is Michael Bork, and I am the president and CEO of the MEMIC Group here in Portland. MEMIC is proud to be a member of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce and proud to be a sponsor of this special video tribute to Dana Connors. Dana's career spanned nearly 60 years, including the last 30 at the Maine State Chamber of Commerce. I first became aware of him myself when I was delivering newspapers as a young boy in Ashland, Maine, and Dana seemed to appear on the front page of the Star-Herald nearly every week from his role as city manager of Presque Isle. From there, he served 3 governors and went on to now a great career at the Maine State Chamber of Commerce. Dana has had a legendary career in Maine. He did that by always making friends and keeping friends, something that's an important lesson for us all. He's been a great mentor, he's been a leader, he's been somebody who has helped make Maine a great place to live, work, and do business. I wish Dana the very best in whatever comes next.
Very few people can say they have loved their career. I can honestly say, I really have loved my career. I hate to let go.
Dana's consistent career, whether it was as city manager of Presque Isle, or commissioner of transportation, or transition director for brand new Governor King, or head of the chamber for over 30 years.
This is a half a century of being committed to the people of Maine.
Dana has been a prominent leader. That's quite a record in itself. People come and go. Dana never went.
And here's how the story unfolds. Oh, I think it's fair to say that I probably was born under a lucky star that has kind of followed me throughout my life. I grew up in Easton, a very small town, about 10 miles west of Presque Isle. There were 23 or 24 in my class. There were 100 in the whole high school.
We grew up together in a town of 1,200 people, and he grew up in a hollow between 2 hills, so that they were always referred to as the hollow kids, and that wasn't a derogatory term, but
No, it's a term of love. I mean,
and there were 3 or 4 families in that hollow, and one of them turned out to be my wife.
it was a time that a baseball bat and a bicycle was all you needed. The rest were just kids you played with, and you did that every day, unless my dad made me go work in the fields or something. But
Yeah, so he was always around. I don't recall that he was a pest, but he was around.
it was a very memorable time, and I'll always treasure it.
Well, his mother and father, like most parents up there, were a very hardworking family.
I had two wonderful parents. My sister and I were very fortunate that we had two parents that made our life so comfortable, so full of love and encouragement that I can't say enough good about them. They probably was the foundation that has helped me throughout. And neither of them had a high school education. But to my sister and I, you never know that, because they seem to be, as we say, street smart. My dad was very gifted when it came to equipment, those types of things. And my mom was home with us, but just a sweetheart. She was just, the type of person that never had anything negative to say about people, always found the good in life, always was positive, and was that way at 94. She stayed at home with my sister and myself until we graduated from high school. I went to college, and then she went to work. And a lot of her life was in retail. And she used to win awards after awards as one of the most likable employees, that type of thing. And my dad had a work ethic that was second to none. I remember him working on the farm. He worked for a farmer as a hired hand, and would work which was typical then, 6 days a week. The foundation for my life was off to an extremely strong start, because A house full of love is a house not to be denied, and it was more than a house, it was a home. My dad passed away in his late 60s from cancer, and my mom more recently at the age of 94. That farmer that my dad worked for was probably one of the first people outside of the family that had strong influence on me. When he knew that I was interested in basketball, he created a gym in the barn so that I could play whenever I wanted to. He was always helpful, complimentary, encouraging. So he was just a wonderful person, had a wonderful family. They treated me like family. He was always there at the basketball games, like my dad and mom were. He never missed a game.
Basketball up there is sort of a religion.
Dana's a little bit older than me, but I do remember Dana Connors, the basketball hero.
While I put an emphasis on my studies, I put a greater value on playing basketball. I practiced probably every day that I could. And between my junior and senior year, I think it's fair to say that I practiced every day. And with all that practice, I should have dominated. That's not to be misunderstood, I didn't. But I contributed, and it was great. It was a great period of my life, and that proved to me that there's no substitute for what we know now, we call it work ethic, but it's hard work. And my parents kind of instilled that into me, and everything I've done has kind of built that layer of appreciation.
You know, there's a lot of Dana that's a lot of Aroostook County too.
First off, he's a good Aroostook County boy. And those county boys are all outgoing, able.
They really have a kind of a laid-back country style of approach. And I like that about him. He gave me, what the guy in the street was going to say.
Character counts, and Dana has that. Openness and honesty and reliability that is an important part, I think, of the main character, but it's also particularly noticeable in people from Aroostook County. I honestly think that has a lot to do with who Dana Connors is.
People who grow up in Aroostook County like I did, I think we're a little more resilient. I think we're a little more practical.
I left there, I went to University of Maine. I started in pre-med, and I left knowing that medicine wasn't going to be for me. So I got into town and city government, and as a result of that, you had responsibility, both undergraduate and graduate, for internships. And so the selection I made was in Presque Isle, both undergraduate and graduate. At that time, the city manager was a person, a very apt, able city manager by the name of John Hinchy. And he was a great mentor to help in various ways during that summer internship. But then Vietnam called. While I didn't go to serve overseas, I was in the Guard. And when I got through my Guard duty, my 6 weeks of training in Texas, the council and the manager came to me and said, "Hey, we're not sure what you're going to do, but we'd like to offer you assistant city manager." And I was very grateful for that opportunity. And I had a great teacher and a board, a council that were really mainstream Presque Isle. Unexpectedly, John, soon after, accepted a position in Concord, New Hampshire as their city manager. Not surprising because he was so good. The council asked me to take over that position. I was 23, I turned 24 a month later. I often say that my hair had started to turn white. They didn't know what I was.
They call him the Silver Fox.
Yes, the Silver Fox, yeah.
Silver Fox, that was all growing up. Also Dapper Dana.
That came about because we had this reporter who came to Presque Isle. In the article, the story, don't ask me why, he labeled me the Silver Fox. Now, it had to be the color of my hair because I'm not too foxy.
Well, he's the best dressed person in Maine. I mean, let's get that out of the way.
Dana's also known for being a fashion icon.
He is a snappy dresser. There's no doubt about that.
No matter what the occasion, he is perfectly turned out, usually with a jaunty little cravat in his pocket or a beautiful silk tie. He always looks impeccable.
Jane Lincoln, who's my chief of staff, was his deputy commissioner of transportation, and she always remarked to me that Dana would come out of some ditch that they were digging in some rural part of Maine, and he'd come out with a three-piece suit and a handkerchief in his pocket and looked like nothing ever touched him, you know. Had a way of coming out smelling like a rose no matter what predicament he was in.
J.O. Laurie was the famous men's dress store on Main Street in Presque Isle, and I'm sure that Dana had an account there.
Whenever I would get stressed out or something at the office, I'd walk down Main Street, sit in this chair, talk with him, and invariably probably buy something, which is probably why he always invited me down, but that's not true. He's a true friend. And even today, if Joyce and I are up in the area, we always stop down to say hello to him.
And we grew up, we would go to Joe Laurie's clothing store on
Main Street there.
on Presque Isle.
Yep.
Saturdays.
Yeah, for most of Saturday.
And I love to go back home. I repeat that. Because people are gracious, they appreciate you being there. It's just wonderful interacting. So yeah, it's a very special place to me. You never forget home. I cannot say enough good about the people of Presque Isle. It was the best experience. Very progressive city, did a lot of infrastructure improvements, did a lot for the community, very, very active. And I thought I would be there forever. That's how much I liked it. In January of 1984, I began my tenure as Commissioner of the Maine Department of Transportation. I suspect it was a friend that whispered into Governor Brennan's ear that he should reach out to me.
Yeah, it was definitely me, that I'm the culprit. And the governor asked me if I would help him find a replacement.
So I went down, interviewed, and a week or so later, he called and said, "I'd like to offer you the position, and would you accept?" And I said, "Well, I'm flattered, but unfortunately right now is not the time for me." And he said, "Why? What is there an issue?" And I said, "Yeah, there is, and the issue is this. Our largest potato processing plant, our #1 taxpayer that employ more people than any other business in the county, has indicated they are going to sell the plant to another company, and the other company was going to close it down." And I said, I wouldn't be comfortable leaving. I wouldn't be comfortable leaving a position that I've loved for almost 16 years to walk away at this particular time. And he said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" And at that point, we just made appointments throughout the country to visit various existing potato processing plants and see if we could secure their interest in locating in Presque Isle. And he said, "Well, how long is that going to take?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, but like it's October now, it'll definitely take the end of the year." And he said, "Okay, I'll wait." And I said, "But if we don't prevail, I won't be able to come." And he said, "Well, I'll take that chance." We did prevail. Bankruptcy court awarded us the rights, and they came to be. I would commute home on the weekends, and when I left the 2 young boys that were home, I'd have tears in my eyes every single weekend traveling back. I'm trying not to right now, as a matter of fact, thinking about it.
I was working for Governor Brennan at the time as a special assistant, and Dana was the new nominee for Commissioner of the Department of Transportation. I expected this sort of big, burly, rough and tough kind of guy, and in walks Dana. The white hair, all the gold rings, the matching handkerchief, the beautiful matching tie, the incredible coat, the flashy shoes. And I was like, oh my goodness. I had the very good fortune of, within about 2 months after that, working for him as his assistant to the commissioner. And then therein we started kind of our 11-year journey at the Department of Transportation during that time.
For the first few months, I felt like a fish out of water. I mean, as a city manager, you deal with a number of departments, and highway is one of those, but it's in a different position when you're head of a state department. But you know, that lucky star continued to follow me, because it was less than a year in which I came to the realization that how fortunate and lucky I was to have that position. There were two organizations, Maine Business Alliance and Maine State Chamber of Commerce. The first organization, the Maine Alliance of Businesses, approached me and interviewed and offered me the job, and I declined. So the board of directors, the officers, approached me about the Maine State Chamber and asked if I'd be interested. And once again, I said, yeah, I'll talk with you. So they offered me the job. I can say I took it.
At that point, I was on the Chamber's board, and it came down to the need for a new president. And I recall interviewing Dana, and I had perhaps met him once or twice, but I certainly knew of him at that point. But that began a 30-year friendship and relationship that I have cherished.
As soon as he became chamber president, we tapped him to be head of the transition for Governor-elect Angus King.
Interestingly, he had been hired to head the chamber, but he took a leave to do the transition.
Sam Zaitlin was chair of the board of the chamber at the time, and Sam and Angus are really good friends. And I think it was probably Sam's idea that the chamber give Dana somewhat of a sabbatical so he could do it. But Angus knew Dana well, so it was a natural. And the board voted to allow Dana to do it. So that's how it all happened.
At that time, there were three seeking to be Maine's governor. So there was, Governor Brennan had appointed me. Susan Collins I knew as a friend. And Angus King, well, for Angus King, he was moderator of Maine Watch. Get back to that story. He'd have me on his show quite often. Perhaps, if I was being honest, more often than I wanted to be, because I'd be on the show and he'd be challenging me on the rail service coming back to Maine, on the turnpike widening and its necessity, and a few other projects. I'd always leave that interview saying, why did I ever agree to that interview? Because I come out of there looking like a dunce. Well, Angus came by and said, hey, Dana, if I'm elected, would you help me? I said, you want me to help? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. So he gets elected. The next morning I get a call. It's from Governor King, soon to be sworn in as Governor King. He said, can you be in Portland at 10 o'clock in the morning? I said, sure, why? Because I'm gonna announce you as my transition director. And I said, you're kidding, is this a joke, one of your jokes? And he said, no, I'm serious. I still wasn't sure he was serious, but I went in nevertheless, and it ended up being an incredible experience.
Well, we really got to know each other in 1994 when I was elected governor and suddenly confronted with, how do I put together a government? How do I find a cabinet? What are the steps that are necessary? How do I prepare a budget that's due 5 weeks after I take office? Dana was my go-to guy. I asked him to be my transition director.
And it was a wonderful experience. It was time-consuming, it was effort, but it was one of those things that you dream about wanting to be able to do.
And then we went into governing, and Dana then went to the chamber. It's important to realize that when Dana went to the chamber, it was in some disarray. In the early 90s, when the chamber basically split in half.
They gave me two responsibilities right off the block, right off the starting gates, they said. Number one was to combine the two entities into one. And the other was to create an entity in the state intended to attract business to our state. And so Tom McBride, who was commissioner of DECD at the time, and myself took on that task, and that became Maine & Company. The other one, the Maine Business Alliance and the Maine Chamber, sat down with the two boards and we brought that together. So my first two responsibilities in the first 2 years ended up coming up with one organization. It was called the Maine Chamber and Business Alliance, and later became the State Chamber of Commerce.
As a chamber executive, he led the business community into areas the business community hadn't been involved in. The business community cared about education. They cared about workforce training. They cared about issues other than the pocketbook issues and workers' comp and unemployment insurance and regulations, the things that were their bread and butter. He took them, he made them multidimensional.
And on education, I mean, he was tremendous bringing the business sector into the education sector. And a couple of years ago, or a few years back, the University of Maine system honored Dana because of all these accomplishments with education and the business by giving him an honorary degree.
2015, I received word that I was to receive an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Maine, my alma mater, where I'd gone to get my BA degree and work on my master's. And that was an incredible honor. To be able to have your alma mater recognize you and the contribution, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that was so meaningful. Were others that I received meaningful? Of course, it meant a lot to me. But I never in my life expected to get an honorary doctorate degree, and to have received it, yeah, it's pretty darn special.
I think Dana and the Chamber did a pretty good job of reaching out and forging relationships with members of legislative leadership.
No matter what party they come from or wherever they are on the spectrum of politics, you know, he builds a good relationship. Relationships mean a lot to me. Respect for others are so meaningful. Listening to others, understanding they have a point of view, and knowing from where they come from.
He really was fair to businesses, but he kind of looked at the other side too. I never got the impression when I was involved in an interview with him that he was shilling for one side or the other. He was seeing both sides and trying to find somewhere in the middle.
I think it is at heart, Dana is a consensus builder who is always looking for a win-win if possible.
He puts people at ease. He doesn't threaten them in any way and tries to get them to go along.
He's good at recognizing that everyone has something to bring to the table. And I think he's also really great at recognizing what people are capable of doing and their talents. We've done things other chambers dream about, like having what we call a leadership summit, where we get legislators in the business community away, and this secret formula is we talk to each other. We listen to each other. It's not an agenda-driven effort to try to persuade. It's one to try to seek understanding and build collaboration efforts, and to let them know we want to work with you and want to listen to you.
Dana is an opinion leader, thought leader.
He really is able to disagree without being disagreeable.
Dana has a very nice way about him, and he can connect with people and he calms people down.
He's incredibly accessible and just very, very generous with his time and with his attention and with his advice. He's just a really incredible partner.
All I can tell you is how he would wrap people around his finger, even when he was giving them bad news about their transportation project, was an absolute delight to watch and a mystery to the rest of us who were serving in Governor McKernan's cabinet.
On numerous occasions, Dana was the person, the mediator. Dana was the person that had the skills to get the groups together so that we could have a common ground.
You know, there's this huge issue, there's a major problem. It seems like there's no possible way to fix it, no possible way through. But, you know, Dana, he always makes it happen.
So I think his skills of being able to smooth over issues and bring things together and move it forward have served him very well, and we need more of those.
Well, I like his style, and I like his leadership capabilities, because I like the way he approaches things.
My style of leadership probably is different than a lot. It's one that you won't read in a textbook, and I may be as wrong can be. But to me, a true leader is one that surrounds himself with very competent people and allows them to do their work.
He trusts people, he delegates, he's just, he's a team leader, you know? He's not gonna focus on the minutia as long as he's got somebody he trusts to do it, and he lets them do it.
He's a great active listener, and I saw that from the very beginning.
He just had a knack that he still has, that he's always had, of listening to people and making them feel valued.
Dana and I, we not only talked about politics, we could discuss politics. But I think what was important for me was that he was always willing to try to understand why did I think as I did? Why did we think as we did? What kind of values was important for us?
I think of our local and regional chambers as a family, a community that we really appreciate, respect, and admire. My staff is my family, and my family at home is my pride and joy as a family. I don't think the board would appreciate me saying that they were a family because I work for them. But again, to have a board of 80, 85 business leaders throughout the state, to bring them together to share information about issues that we address, but to also provide them the opportunity to provide us their opinions, their outlook on issues is extremely important. We got a big state, and we don't always look at the same issue through the same lens. And listening to people, providing them that opportunity to participate, even though people may not always agree in unanimity of our decision, they respect it because they participated in it.
Dana, you have made such a difference in the state of Maine in all of the positions you have held. Maine is different because of you, and a better place to live and raise a family. I can't really imagine that you're going to retire. I have a feeling that there's another chapter yet to come. In the meantime, however, my very best wishes to you and Joyce.
Hey, Dad, super proud of you. Congratulations, well deserved on the retirement. I hope you can actually relax, settle down, and enjoy skiing and golfing more. I'm sure there'll be a next chapter, and I really am interested in looking forward to finding out what that would be.
Congrats. I couldn't be happier and more excited for the next chapter. And you have, as we've said, earned it a million times over. I hope you enjoy it as much as we hope you do, and relax and travel, maybe out west. I'm so excited for this chapter coming up, and can't wait to see where it goes. And yes, I hope you enjoy even more golf, even more skiing.
Congratulations on your service and what you contributed to the state. And I couldn't have done any of the things I've accomplished without your support and help.
Dana, you're going to be missed, obviously, and we all appreciate all that you have done. The state will have benefited enormously from your being a part of our public policy.
Dana, I'm so honored to be able to speak to you on this video and tell you how much I admire you. You have been a big part of my professional life, and I thank you for it. I thank you for everything that you have done for this state. You have made a difference, Dana.
Well, Dana, all I can say is that you are clearly a boy from Easton who done good, and I've always been proud of you along the way, and congratulations on a long and successful life.
Thank you, Dana, for everything that you've done for the state, and thank you for everything that you've done to help me and support me throughout my career. I hope you have a long, healthy, happy retirement and that you win every golf game.
Dana Connors, congratulations, my friend, on a job well done. Maine has been made better because of you, and I love you, mister.
Dana, I can't imagine a professional career without your involvement in it. I'm so grateful that we intersected as often as we did, and I want you to know just how important you were to me as a big brother, a sounding board, and as a collaborator. And I always appreciate the phone calls from you that always start with, "Hey, sister," and I hope those continue a long time into the future.
Dana, I want to share my well wishes and certainly Jeff's. We had so much fun working with you on that second Turnpike campaign, and you've been such an incredible friend and mentor ever since then. But you have just been such an important part of my life and of my career, and I am just so grateful not only that we got to work together professionally, but certainly that we became friends. And I'll see you soon.
Wishing you nothing but the best in your retirement as you move forward in this new chapter in your life.
You've earned it. Sit back, relax, and watch the benefit of the things that you've advised us to do pay dividends.
I just want to say thank you for being a shining example of what can come from Presque Isle, Maine, a shining example of someone who can be a leader in our state. And in the event we screw this up again, please, you're ready to step in and straighten us out.
You can leave your current position, I hope, for what will be a positive and fruitful retirement, with the knowledge that you have done a great deal for all the people of Maine.
Dana, I'm gonna miss you. It's been a lot of fun working for you. You are truly one of a kind. I tell people you're like my right-hand man, which you are. Anyways, it's gonna be hard to not have you around at the chamber. Can't wait to see what's ahead for you though. I also know you're not gonna sit still. Thanks, Dana.
Dana, spending the year from 1988 to 89 with you and your family has really shaped me and my life. I don't think I would have entered into politics if it wasn't for all the talks and discussions you and I had about politics. And hopefully I've been a better politician because of you. I have so much to thank you for. So have a great, great night tonight.
He's been an extraordinary friend, leader.
He's a guy who you can count on, who keeps his word. He's going to be straight with them, that he's not going to try to mislead them. I don't think it gets any better than that.
We haven't seen the final chapter of Dana Connors yet.
I've been blessed because I have had only 3 jobs. They amount to 57 years when I leave in December. But all 3 of them, I had the same problem in leaving. I had the same problem in giving up something that I really enjoyed. I'll be 6 months away from 80 years of age. And I think of myself as being much younger until I look in the mirror and then I know that that 39, 49 is gone. But in spite of my age, I haven't lost my energy or my attitude or my desire. However, there's a time for everything. And as hard as it is for me to give up, once again, I won't surprise anybody, it's time.
I don't have anything else really.
So, would you like us to make something up?
I could.
Because we can.
I could lie.
Yeah. Some people may not know this, but I delivered Dana's newspaper in the mid-1970s, growing up in Presque Isle. And because Dana was very, very busy, he always seemed to be traveling. He was not always there when I knocked on the door to collect payment. And so every time that he's been on our radio program, we like to remind him that he has an outstanding balance. But now that he's retiring, I just wonder if I could ask a favor. I have an invoice for how much that he owes me, and adjusted for inflation over time, it's $5,422.36. So when you see him at this event, do you think you could please pass along that invoice? You know, my kid's got to go to college.
Yeah, but he may give you an invoice back for the window you broke when you threw his paper through the window.
He had it coming. He had it coming.
Where was I going with that? What were we just talking about? See, that's the problem I have. You ask me what time it is, I'll tell you how to build a watch and go around. But what the hell was I going with that?
So before we get into the mushy stuff, I thought we'd take this opportunity to clear the air, to set the record straight. In the past, we have been introduced on occasion by the retiree as his older brothers. We are not his older brothers.
No.
Right?
No,
we're not. We are his sons. I am the older son, Greg, and this fella is
Chris, the younger Dana boy.
Dana's boys.
Yeah.
That's right. We're Dana's boys. So there you go.
Your name, of course, came up, and that's why we reached
Prosecutors always say that.
He's not as good at golf as he says he is.
Legacy? What legacy? I'm not even sure I have one. My skiing is not that great. My singing, I'll never get a gig. Who am I? What am I doing here?
All new governors get to go to a governor's-elect meeting coordinated by the National Governors Association. Dana accompanied Angus, and the people, the taxi cab drivers, the valets, everybody thought Dana was the governor, and Angus was just there to carry his bags. So it's a true story. I'm sure it's been exaggerated a little, but it is true.
Everybody thought Dana was the governor. Oh, governor, what can we go here? You know, the white hair and the way Dana's always turned out. So I had to, I was coming up the rear, and it was a little, no, actually, I'm the governor.
Well, thank you guys very much for joining. I know you guys, you already worked 10 hours today. I know that.
One of us has. I just want to know who we're going to call for chamber issues that's going to be able to help us fill up an entire show.
Now we got to break somebody else in.
Well, it's going to take forever.
I picture at the event me coming up on the TV and him being like, oh,
sliding under the table.
What is she gonna say? I have so many secrets I could reveal.
I could say everything he knows his wife Joyce taught him. I could say that.
I hope he does enjoy it, but I hope there's not a lot more Force family fun than what we already experienced. That's a joke. I'm kidding. I love the Force family fun. It's enjoyable.
Where was I going with that? It was something profound. It might have been the only profound thing I said, and now I can't remember it. Before you laugh, this is going to happen to you too, because when you get older and older, and you reach my pinnacle of life, you're going to say, oh, what was his name? Huh. What did I just say? Anyway, I think that's a wrap.